On today's episode of the Ango Show, we're going to be talking about a WWE star who has re-signed with the company. We're also going to discuss WWE opening the forbidden door with Marigold because they have announced that a WWE superstar, former champion, is headed to the company. And we're also going to dive in a little bit to the TNA announcement. Yes. I hope you all are having a lovely day. My name is Ango, and I want to kick things off today talking about TNA's announcement because unfortunately, it appears that we've had a little bit of a interesting narrative, I should say, that's been going around. A lot of doom and gloom for TNA, and that's how social media is because, well, Dave Meltzer opened his mouth and made it sound like maybe TNA wasn't really going to be doing anything because they didn't have any events announced. Now, obviously, this is where things get really funny because TNA has announced the Total Nonstop Summer Tour. And with this tour announcement, they are making their return to Cleveland, Chicago, Philly, Montreal, Tampa, Louisville, Kentucky, and Bound for Glory is set to take place at a major city. So let's talk about this a little bit. June 14th and 15th, they're going to be at the Cicero Stadium in Chicago, Illinois. June 28th and 29th, they're going to be at the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. July 20th and the 21st, they will be in Montreal, Quebec, Canada at the Verdun Auditorium. August 2nd and 3rd, Florida State Fairgrounds in Tampa. August 30th and 31st, they'll be at the Old Foresters Paris Town Hall in Louisville. September 13th and 14th, they'll be at Temple Live Cleveland Masonic, which is in Cleveland, Ohio. And yes, October 2024, the Bound for Glory pay-per-view is expected to be going into one of the most visited cities in the world. And it sounds like Bound for Glory is going international. A lot of speculation that it could be London. A lot of speculation that it could be Scotland. A lot of speculation that it could, in fact, be maybe even Tokyo, Japan. Who knows? But a lot of doom and gloom for TNA. Not really having any substance, right? Guys, I'm going to say this once and for all. You've probably heard me say this, but just like any news story that's out there, even the stories that I talk about, we all have to take them with a grain of salt. Regardless of the credibility that someone has, the wrestling industry is crazy. It's crazy. And I feel like with the doom and gloom that is being said about TNA comes from speculation, not a basis of facts. And I think it's actually really unfortunate that that narrative has come out, especially at such an opportune time because a lot of people are pushing the narrative that WWE is buying TNA. And look, I personally don't think that's happening. I think TNA is doing just fine, obviously, in comparison to AEW and WWE. And I say obviously with an emphasis. Yeah, they're the smaller company. Yeah, they're not making as much money as those companies, but they're also very content with being what they are. And it doesn't look like TNA is trying to become another AEW or another WWE. They're staying in their lane. They're doing a good job. And if you can't rock with that, just simply don't watch. I want to turn our attention to Io Sky. This image on the screen is a screen grab from Marigold. Look, I really don't know how else to explain this other than the fact that I love it. Io Sky is going to Rossy Agawa's new promotion, Dream Star Fighting Marigold, which, here in America, we just call it Marigold. This is really cool because there is a really big time match that will be taking place on July 13th. Guys, Utami Hayashishida, I probably butchered that, unfortunately, but the reality is this is going to be a massive match. And it's not that WWE is sending an NXT talent there. It's not WWE sending an underutilized talent there. No, WWE is sending the former SmackDown Women's Champion to Japan. And for a lot of people, especially if you watch Joshi Wrestling, this is considered a dream match for many. I think this is going to be really interesting because, well, first and foremost, let's just talk about it for what it is. WWE is not the company that plays nice with other companies. Now they are. It's a different approach. I also think for a lot of talent, especially an international talent, right? If you are somebody from the UK, If you are somebody from Japan or, you know, the Middle East or something like that, if you're in the WWE and you're living in the United States, you might miss home. These working relationships are cool from the perspective that, yeah, you're going to get matchups that you don't typically see, talent exchange and stuff like that. Collaboration is always cool. But I look at it as a benefit for the talent, right? If you're somebody who lives in America, you can't always visit back home, you don't always have the time to do it, this is actually a great way to accomplish that. So in my personal opinion, I think this is cool, man. I think this is cool. I think also what I really want to see, WWE sending out talent is one thing, and I like that. Send some talent to WWE Raw and SmackDown. And what I would do if I were WWE, because I understand that every crowd is different, right? Now, if it's an international crowd, if it's Scotland, if it's, you know, honestly, I feel like Scotland, Saudi Arabia, Puerto Rico, France, like some of these other countries that have been getting pay-per-views and stuff, like it's kind of a known thing where the crowd is just incredible, right? WWE Raw and SmackDown doesn't have that same level of crowd. So maybe what WWE should do, if they're going to bring a talent in from another company, I know WWE doesn't like to announce things. They like to just kind of build things up and tease it and tease it and tease it. But if you really want to get some great crowd reactions, I would actually start doing video packages for talent who the US audience may not be aware of. You know, if your audience is not aware of it, the reactions might suck. So I think if WWE kind of preps talent ahead of time, it could be really cool, especially if Utami comes to WWE. Maybe not everybody knows who she is, but they could bring her in, do some video packages, stuff like that, and try to explain who she is. Try to build up a level of hype, that type of thing. I think more hype could be really beneficial. You know what else could be more beneficial? If more talent took the Chad Gable approach. Chad Gable appears to be re-signing with the WWE if he has not already re-signed with the WWE. There's been a big push for it. PWInsider.com has reported that the belief is that Chad Gable is extremely close to or has come to terms with WWE. Everybody in the company has already assumed that he is remaining with the company. We all know that he's facing off against Sami Zayn at Clash at the Castle. I did a watch along last night on Raw. Everything that Chad Gable, Otis, the Alpha Academy is doing is fantastic. Now you got Chad Gable in the background talking to Ivy Nile, which could be really freaking cool. If Ivy Nile, the Creeds, and Chad Gable form a stable, I'm all for it. As heels, obviously, it's the right direction in my opinion. And I'll say this, you guys have heard me talk a lot about Chad Gable's contract situation a lot in recent months, but I do want to point out that he is a fantastic talent. I think a lot of talent should understand that sometimes, you know, things take a little bit of a longer time period to get to that next level. And it's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be simple. But the reality is this: if you're patient, you put in the work, you handle yourself with class, you're not a piece of shit on social media, eventually good things come. And, you know, Chad Gable, I remember greatly from him and Jason Jordan in NXT to coming up to the main roster, and you're just waiting for that moment to happen. And then everybody gets reactionary because he can't beat Gunther, and a lot of people think they should have had him beat Gunther. But look, over a period of time now, it just becomes this amazing storyline. And even with Otis acknowledging his past, and, you know, it's like WWE's not insulting your intelligence here, and I appreciate that. I think a lot of talent, you know, it's hard to say be patient, but sometimes being patient works out in your favor. Chad Gable built up a lot of stock in his free agency value. And truth be told, if he left WWE, like, I can never be mad at a talent for leaving WWE, but this is a perfect example of being patient, working hard, getting to where you need to be, to then being at a point where you are rewarded with a great contract and stuff like that. So yeah, Chad Gable looks to be staying. Not really shocked, but also very excited. Do you guys think he wins at Clash at the Castle? Let me know what you think down below.